All right, today we are diving into what has to be one of the most detailed design briefs ever written down. We're looking at Exodus 28, which is basically a divine blueprint for a set of sacred garments, a very specific uniform for the high priest of ancient Israel.
So think about the core challenge here. This isn't just about making clothes. It's about designing a physical interface between an entire nation and their God. Every single thread, every stone, every color. It all has a job to do. So how on earth do you pull that off?
Well, the mission statement is spelled out right from the get-go. The whole point is for glory and for beauty. That tells you immediately that the look of this thing, the symbolism, that's not an afterthought. That is the main function.
Okay, let's really get into it. To wrap our heads around this design, we're going to break down the 6 key parts that make up this incredible outfit, piece by intricate piece.
So here's our roadmap. We've got the breastplate, the ephod, the robe, a broidered coat, the mitre, and a girdle. Each one layers on top of the next, building this really complex system of meaning. And we're going to start with the foundation.
Let's kick things off with the garment that acts as the base for all the most important pieces, the ephod. And as you're about to see, it's designed to carry some pretty heavy symbolic weight. You can think of the ephod as the chassis for the whole outfit. The source material calls it cunning work, which is just an old way of saying it was masterfully woven. It's kind of like a vest that provides the whole structural base for everything else.
And check out the specs on this thing. The materials are just incredible. We're talking threads of pure gold woven into fine linen with these brilliant blue, purple, and scarlet yarns. And its key features are 2 shoulder pieces, and on those shoulders, 2 very, very important onyx stones.
Now, there's a number you need to keep in your head through all of this, and that number is 12. It pops up again and again because it directly connects to the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is how that number comes to life. Those 2 onyx stones on the shoulders, they weren't just for decoration. They were engraved, like you'd engrave a seal, with the names of the tribes, 6 on one shoulder, 6 on the other. So the high priest was literally carrying his entire community on his shoulders.
And this just nails the purpose, right? It's explicitly for a memorial. The priest himself becomes a living monument, a constant reminder of the people he's representing whenever he's on duty.
Okay, so we're moving from the shoulders down to the chest, and this is where the design gets even more elaborate, and frankly, a lot more mysterious. This is the breastplate of judgment. See, there's that term again, cunning work, so you know this is another piece of absolute peak artistry. And it wasn't just worn loosely, it was carefully fastened to the ephod, with gold chains and blue lace, all to make sure it sat securely right upon his heart. And the front of the breastplate was just astonishing. It had 12 precious gemstones set in gold and arranged in 4 neat rows. Every stone was different, so you can just imagine this dazzling blast of color and light.
And yep, you guessed it, just like the shoulder stones, each of these 12 gems was engraved with the name of one of the tribes. So this is huge. The representation of the nation is now doubled up. They're carried not just on the shoulders of strength, but now also over the heart of judgment.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. The breastplate was actually a pouch, and inside this pouch were 2 mysterious objects called the Urim and the Thummim. Now the text doesn't tell us what they were, but it does tell us their purpose. They were tools for judgment, or getting divine answers.
This quote just drives home the incredible weight of this thing. He's not just bearing their names now, he's bearing their judgment, their most critical decisions, right there on his heart. And he has to do it continually. I mean, that is a constant, awesome responsibility.
So far, these clothes have been a total feast for the eyes. But believe it or not, the design brief also brings in a completely different sense, sound. And for that, we have to look at the robe.
Underneath the ephod, he wore this simple but really striking robe made completely of blue fabric. But its most important feature wasn't the color, it was the hem. All around the very bottom edge of the robe, there was this alternating pattern. You had a little pomegranate, beautifully crafted from blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and right next to it, a little bell made of pure gold. A bell, a pomegranate, a bell, a pomegranate, all the way around. So why the bells? Well, the reason the text gives is chilling. The sound of the priest moving around had to be heard when he went into the holy place. And the reason is stark, that he die not. Let that sink in. The sound was a signal of life,
a sign that he was allowed to be there. It was literally a matter of life and death.
So we've built the whole outfit up from the foundation. Now we get to the final piece, the crown, which basically declares the whole purpose of the job.
The headwear was called a mitre, which was a cap made of fine linen. But the most important part was attached to the very front, held by a blue cord so it would sit right on his forehead, a plate of pure gold.
And what was engraved on that gold plate? This incredibly powerful 3-word mission statement. Holiness to the Lord. That's it. That was the headline, the job title, the one single idea that defined his entire role, worn on his forehead for everyone to see. The ultimate statement of purpose.
So from the shoulders to the heart to the head, every detail of this incredible uniform was designed for glory and beauty, and it was just saturated with meaning. And it makes you think, right? From a judge's robe to a soldier's uniform or an athlete's jersey, what are the symbols we all wear today to define our roles and represent our communities?